A brand is not a slogan, a logo, a color scheme, a mascot. It's none of those things. I'm sorry. Perfect. Ooh, testing. Okay, so what a brand is not, it is none of those things that I just said. A name, a logo, slogan, it's none of those. It's not even a product or service that you sell. A brand is wow.
And passing papers out, we'll use this when it's time to start writing on.
That's what a brand is. The brand is the public expressions of your company's beliefs, period, bar none. Notice I didn't say product or service. Notice I didn't say slogan. Your slogan, your mission statement, that's actually a byproduct of your brand. For example, when you think of Nike, and there's a couple of you guys wearing Nikes, let me ask you a question. Why are you wearing Nike and not Adidas? Why are you wearing Nike and not Puma? Why are you wearing Nike and not Converse? When you think of Nike, what comes to mind? China, okay.
Just do it.
Okay, that's a slogan, but let's dig deeper into that. Why just do it?
Athletics.
What about athletics? Are we talking about mediocre athletes, or are we talking about a certain type of athletes?
Top level athletes.
Elite athletes. Let me expound on that a little more. Elite athletics. Notice every Nike commercial. Who's featured? The people on top of their game. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Roger Federer. Who are these guys? Top athletes. And when you do see them on a commercial, are you only seeing the shoe? No, you're actually seeing an image. You're seeing a belief. What do people want? They want to be a part of something elite. So when they do see that, what do they buy? Whatever it is that they're showing. Because they want to be a part of that. So understand that when it comes to small business, it's no different. You can be a plumber, and your brand is something as simple as classic, like classical. But you're fixing toilets. It doesn't matter. Because you're not selling whatever you're actually selling in terms of a product or service. You're selling a brand. Because notice how, going back to Nike, do they only recruit, do they recruit every single high schooler? No. They only recruit blue chips. They only recruit 5 stars. What you determine your brand will determine who you approach in terms of clients. It determines who you hire. It determines how you market, how you advertise. It determines what price points you actually sell your products at. Another case in point. What would you say the brand of Rolls Royce is?
Luxury.
Luxury, what else? Prestige. Okay, are they selling a car? No. They're selling that. To the point of this point, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I'm going to bring this back to the brand piece. Do they ever advertise? No. But you always see a Ford commercial. So the question becomes, what is a brand? And the better question is, do you have one? Because if I was to approach any one of you, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. And if I was to ask you what your brand is, if the moment you tell me what you do, nope, that's not a brand. I had one person that I approached. She owns a float spa, the only one in town. And I asked what her brand was. Her son was right there next to her. He actually is the one running it. And he was telling me that, we're the only float spa in town. And I said, okay, what if I was to have somebody that actually has millions of dollars and actually create a float spawn right next door. If you don't have a brand, he gets one. You're out of business in 6 months. Because all I gotta do is I gotta just take some resources, undercut you on price, if I wanted to do that, and I take your clients. Or I can actually provide a more quality service than you are, and take your clients that way. There's multiple ways I can skin this cat, but if you don't have a brand, you're not in business. So we start seeing this idea that we have to establish what a brand actually is. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Rashad, well, I don't even know what my brand is. How do I determine it? Here's the reason why we're going to do this exercise. This right here, A plus B, and your C, is what we're actually going to start our tonight's discussion on. You have a sheet of paper in front of you. If there's anything that I can emphasize in terms of what you're going to come out of tonight is this. Your brand is determined by your C. How we determine your C is what we're going to start focusing on here with your A. This whole process, everything that I'm telling you right now is what's called the meaning of life. It's actually what, in terms of what is it that we're getting out of this, it's enabling you to actually take a personal inventory of your life. For those of us that are military members, we take inventory on a weekly, if not monthly basis, right? Business owners, you take inventory of your supplies and all that stuff at least once a month. But when's the last time we actually took an inventory of our lives? So this is the opportunity for us to actually gather that. Now, I'm not going to lie. Just in case you guys haven't picked up already, I'm very blunt. Some of the things I'm going to say might step on some toes. Good. Because this is actually going to be something that's going to challenge you. You will be mentally stretched. Embrace it. Because again, entrepreneurs are able to adapt. People that are small business owners can't. So with that being said, what we're going to start off with is we're going to start with this A column. And what we're doing is we're going to start thinking of the things that you spend time and things that you spend money on and things that are important to you. I'm going to write some of the things that I wrote when I started this the first time. Now, for the sake of time, start off with 10 to 15 things. Some of you might be a challenge, but as we start going along this process, you're going to start having things come back, so take your time to going back. Okay.
I would do this with him on your guys' white pieces of paper. So I would do the A plus B, C.
Time, money, and what you believe in, right?
What was A again, Rashad?
What's that?
What was A again?
Your A is just a randomized list of things that you spend money on, things that you spend time doing, and things that are important to you. So, like for example, I love smoking cigars, if you haven't met me yet. Troy and Stormy, every time they see me, they have a cigar bar. I also play rugby, I love reading, I play golf, I'm also a father, I'm a husband, I'm real passionate, especially in light of what's going on in our society, not just here in the States, but also around the world. I'm a big advocate for freedom. A loss of freedom for one group, it doesn't matter what side of the fence that you're on, it's a loss of freedom for all. So I'm big on freedom. I'm also big on military service. I'm also involved in veteran activities. So that's. So whatever, you can think of 10 to 15 things that you can think of, things that you spend time and money on. Also, there's this crazy explosion of a new sport called pickleball. Anybody ever heard of that? This is insane.
30,000 people were down there in Naples
It's insane.
last week.
Yeah, they got the US Open coming up in like a month. It's nuts. Just a little bit of my background. I actually played tennis at West Point while y'all are still working on your stuff. I played tennis at West Point, so I was driving down 41, and I'm not over there by Page Airfield. I'm like, those are not tennis courts. Those are pickleball courts, and I've seen a whole lot of older people playing serious.
Major tournaments.
They're serious. All right, so anyway, so here we have a whole list of things, okay, that you spend time, money, and these are important to you. Now, if you're not there yet in terms of 10 to 15, don't worry about it. This is just more so of a example. If you really want to spend more time, you can get with me and we'll be able to discuss this in detail. Now the next column, the A+, is the same items that you have put on the first list, but now you're going to prioritize it. The most important thing you're going to put up top, and you're going to priority rank it all the way down to the bottom. Now I actually didn't put mine up here, but mine is on my page. One of the things too that I started noticing this trend is when I'm doing this with couples, because I talk to a ton of business owners and their spouses. When you're doing this with your spouse, you actually do this separate and then you do it together. What's hilarious is what happens when I'm doing this with a couple and I'm looking at what's like the top 4 things on their A+, and I actually see the reason why they're actually fighting. Because especially when it comes to husband and wife that have kids, on the husband's side, you'll see God, there, believer, if not, then you'll see the spouse, then the kid. The wife will actually turn around and say kids, and then the spouse. Then what's hilarious is actually when we go through, we're discussing it, they start looking at each other. And I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why you're not fighting. Because we see exactly where our priorities lie. So what this does is that, this is going to be your list. I don't see what's on your list. Unless if you're inclined, because we're actually going to be discussing how this translates into how your brand is defined. But this is going to actually dictate the direction that you go moving forward with your business. And for some people, or actually for a lot of people, it's scary. Because for the first time in your life, for the majority of people that do this, they're actually being shown a mirror and they don't like what they see. The entrepreneur is going to be able to adapt to that and be like, ooh, that's ugly, we need to fix this. The small business owner, and you're gonna hear me use this term a lot, they're gonna see that and they're gonna actually be like, ooh, I don't like that, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I'm comfortable with where I'm at. And I don't wanna change because change is scary. That's what they say. So with that being said, you're going to priority rank everything that you put on here. The most important thing is up top all the way down to the bottom. There's a point in the list where it just doesn't matter, you just list it. Who cares if it's pickleball or rugby? Me personally, rugby. Yes, that's the reason I'm not here on Saturday for those of you guys that I'm actually assigned to. I'm sorry, but I'm in the mid-season and I can't break away from my time bashing against the big boys. So, anyway. That being said, once you've made that list, you're going to take out a red pen. You don't have one yet. But let's just say you did. And you're gonna start at the bottom of that list. And you're gonna ask yourself, are you willing to die for that? They may be thinking, Rashad, that's kind of extreme. That's kind of out there. Why am I asking myself that question? Because if we had nothing that we're willing to die for, then what are we living for? Especially right now. And if the answer is no, move up one. Nope, 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 nope. Yes. Now you may be thinking, Rashad, would you really die for fitness? Understand, I'm not saying I would die for fitness in terms of having a six-pack, but I am willing to die to be able to have the ability to be 90 years old and still kicking it with my great-great-grandkids. How can I actually take care of everything else above that line if I'm not actually physically fit? Because the moment I come down, which by the way, we've seen a lot of people go down with COVID, notice what happens to businesses of the owners that are sick, that have actually owned a job instead of owning a business. See what happens to the business? They're no longer here. Don't you think it's kind of important to take care of yourself first? And oh, by the way, if I was to look at your list, how many of you actually put yourself on that list? Only one hand. So we see that we have to go through some mental adjustments here. Because in order for us to actually change, we have to really see and assess, what is it that we're actually doing here? All right, another point. Some of you are starting to pick up on this, and I'm starting to see some misty eyes. Here we are, we say that this is the most important thing, right? These things are all important to us. But the real question is, are we really showing it? Because my next question to you is, if you were to account for the money that you're actually spending, the time that you're actually spending, what are the top 3 things that you're spending the majority of your time in a week? Is it above the line or below the line? When I first did this, and I'm going to show you what mine was. Here's what my top 3 was. My military career. At the time that I did this, I was playing softball, don't judge. And whenever I had free time, at the time, I was a financial advisor. So, if you were to look at my calendar, those were the top 3 things that occupied the majority of my time and my money. But yet, I said that everything above that line are things that are important to me that I was willing to die for. The significance of this, at this point in time, was shown when we had a conference, and we had a father and a daughter right here, sitting right there in front of us. By the time we got to this point where we asked everybody to identify the top 3 things that occupied their time and money, the guy stopped writing and just sat down with his paper. His daughter's looking right at him. And he starts crying. So we're looking at him and say, hey, everything okay? He was like, he doesn't say anything to us, he just turns to his daughter and he says, I'm sorry. Because this whole time I've been trying to build something for you, and I actually neglected you in the process. You guys came into tonight's meeting thinking to yourself, I'm just going to learn about some brand, logo, all this type of crap. And you're actually being hit with, no, the reason why you're here in this course tonight is not just to make money. It's to actually build something that's actually going to mean something beyond what's on the P&L sheet. And it starts with this. So if we say that this is what we want to actually live our lives in, then our business has to reflect that. Does that make sense? So understand that tonight, you're not going to go through this exercise tonight and figure it out by the end of the night. It's going to be a process. But I'm just walking you through this to show how important this is. Because it really will dictate and determine what direction you take your company if you have an established company. If you don't, then you being here is huge. Because now you get to start something the right way. All right, so we're going to move on. So everything that we're doing now, moving forward, is above the line. All right? So also another thing, I hate lectures. I'm more of an interactive task person. We have plenty of time to go through this material. So if you have any questions, if you're stuck on something, feel free to raise a hand. And, if you have a question, I guarantee you somebody else does. All right? And there's never a dumb question. So with that being said, what we're going to do now is you're going to take the things that you said was above the line, and we're going to move it to the B side. And what this B column is, it's actually going to enable you to describe what it would take for you to fulfill that. Now, for the sake of tonight, list out 2 to 3 things per item. What does that look like? So for example, my faith. 1A, I just like to do this because it helps me organize my thoughts. 1A would be daily devotion. And then 1B would be a trip to Israel with my family. Okay, my role or responsibility as a husband. 2A, weekly dates. When I was in the military, I was lucky to have 1 date every 5 months with my wife. So if I really want to change that, then what is it that I want to do to fulfill that need? So for me, I want to emphasize more weekly dates with my wife, and also, to be, she gets a date herself, so it's going to be daddy daycare. So I get to watch the kids. I have actually 2 boys. I have a 4-year-old, 2-year-old. I got a girl on the way. So yeah, she needs some time to herself. My role as a father, I want to attend every single one of the practices and games. And also, we're going to take a father-son sports journey. Freedom. I'm real big on political involvement. So, when I first moved here, one of the first things I did was I wanted to see if they had a volunteer auxiliary deputy program for the sheriff's department. A lot of people don't know in terms of what the sheriffs can do and how much of an impact that is being involved as a volunteer. So that's something that I wanted to actually accomplish. So, but here's the thing, I'm just sharing with you my examples. You can just write whatever it is that you want to do to actually meet whatever it is that you want to meet to fulfill. Does that make sense? So at this point, you guys kind of get the point. Your C is you're going to take every single item that you put on your B list and you're going to actually quantify it in terms of time that it would take for you to meet that and how much money it would actually take for you to actually do that. So for example, for 1 alpha, excuse my military lingo, not everything has to do with both time and money. Some could just be one or the other, or both. What would make me feel fulfilled if I spend at least 1 hour a day meditating? So 1 hour. 1 Bravo, I would love to spend a couple weeks, at least, preferably 3, in Israel. And it would probably cost me a pretty penny to have all of my entire family there, so I'm going to say about $40,000. Weekly dates, at least 4 hours. And then it's going to cost me roughly $200. I'm not saying every day is going to be $200. I'm just saying that's how much I'm thinking. My wife might disagree with me. All right, just saying. Being able to give her the time to herself every week, at least 6 hours. Practice with the boys, 4 hours. Doesn't cost me anything to watch my boys play ball. Taking the sports journey, another 2 weeks of fun, and roughly 15 grand. So you guys kind of get the point. Now you're not going to, again, like I say, you're not going to determine an actual definitive number. It's going to be a process, but you're starting to get the process here. If you really want to know the nitty-gritty how to calculate everything, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you or perhaps give you an actual copy of what I wrote, that we get to see exactly how I calculated it. But you're seeing the process here, because what's going to happen is every single thing that you wrote here is reflecting the things that you want to do to have a fulfilled life. All right? No, this has nothing to do about being greedy. This is just you actually functioning as a human being that actually has a life of meaning and purpose. Because on the flip side of it, I've met plenty of millionaires, especially down here in Naples. And they have told me, Rashad, I go to bed wondering if this is all there is to living. I have 4 homes, 6 cars, I'm on my 3rd wife. But yet I'm going to bed feeling incomplete. Why? Because their lives are out of whack. The things that they say that are important to them are getting the leftovers after they accounted for all the time and energy they're spending down here. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Rashad, like, what does this have to do with my brand? This has everything to do about your brand. Because can we be honest here? At this point, you're starting to realize there's a difference between an entrepreneur who has the time and the flexibility to make as much money as he wants within the time frame that he wants. That way he gets to go out there and use his businesses as a tool to do the things that he really wants to do in life. Can we agree? There's a difference between that and the small business owner, where he actually bought him a job that actually owns him. This right here, your seed, and I haven't gotten down to what the final results is. I'm going to explain it. Your seed is going to enable you the opportunity to take into account all the amount of time that it takes for you to feel fulfilled here. You're going to add it all up. So let's just say that you're factoring all the hours. Now, again, I'm just sharing with you what helped me out. Every time I said an hour, I actually wrote in parentheses that many hours in a year. You have to add it all up in order for us to account for everything, right? So 52 hours in 52 weeks in a year, 1 hour a day. So you do the math, right? That's how many hours, X. After you account for all of that, you're going to add it up. Now, just for the sake of tonight's discussion, I'm just going to give you a random number so you get the idea. Let's say that the amount of hours it takes is 2,500 hours. Okay? That after you add it all up, and it's going to say, in terms of money, at least 500 grand. Also, let me advise you on something real quick while you're doing this. Do not actually account for all this based on what you're making right now. Please don't. Because what you're doing is you're doing this. You're taking your reality here. Here's your dreams. Don't squeeze this into that, please. Please don't. Not when you're doing this. Because what's happening is that you're saying, okay, I really want to do all those things, but yet I'm only making this, I really can't do that right now. Irrelevant. Because it's easy to make money. I'm being dead serious. It's easy to make money. You just got to rethink how we strategize here. So let yourself stretch yourself mentally here to come into here. So as you're going through this, really say, if you really want to spend this time doing whatever it is, how much money would it cost? Let whatever's going on currently, don't let it persuade you otherwise, okay? All right, so with that being said, your seed is this. I'm sorry. You added the amount of hours. This is what it came down to. Now what happens is we only have so many hours in a year, so let's just have somebody with a calculator. Let's do 24 hours in a day, times 7 days in a week. What is that?
168,
168 times 52.
8,736.
8,756 hours in a year.
Sorry, 36.
I'm sorry. 8,736 hours in a year. Okay, now, let's take that number and subtract 2,500 hours from that. Where are you at?
62,
62:36. Okay. Now we also gotta sleep. Let's just assume you're getting 7 hours of sleep a night. Let's do the math on that. 7 hours of sleep a day, 7 days a week, times 52.
25, 48.
2548. Let's take that from this, and what are we left with?
36, 80.
3688 hours. Okay, this is what's left over. Let's take this, divide that by 52.
70,
70.9. Okay, so there's 70 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already accounted for sleep and how many hours there are in a year. We have the same amount of time that Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, we have the same amount of time, right? But they do it smarter than we do. We have 70 hours a week to fulfill the things that we say we want to fulfill. That's how much time we have in our business, okay? If we spend more time in our business than that, we are giving up something that we said that we were no longer willing to give up. Does that make sense? Okay, your C is this. In order for me to feel fulfilled, I need to work my business less than 70 hours a week, and my business has to make 500 grand a year. As in, your income is 500, not your business. Okay? Your income. Now, if you're not there yet, don't sit there and say, okay, this is not going to work. That's not what this is about. This is your goal. Every single time that I'm referencing an example, I'm always going to refer to your brand, which is determined by your C. Okay? So when you ask me, Rashad, this is a great opportunity that just came up on my plate. Should I take it? Depends on your C. Because if you get an opportunity where you get to make $1 million, but it requires you work 90 hours a week, and that's your C, no. Does this make sense? This right here determines your brand. Because, and now I'm going to have to do some erasing.
Or you can flip the board.
That's actually somewhere. But there's a code and.
It's okay, you can erase it.
Perfect. Because there's a million ways how to make $1 million. You can sell one thing for $1 million. You can sell 10 things for 100 grand. You can sell 100 things for 10 grand. Sell 1,000 at 1,000. And so on until you get to 1 million things for $1. Your C determines where you are in this spectrum here. Just to give you an example. Rolls Royce, $1.25. General store. Used to call it the dollar store, but now it's $1.25. Thanks to inflation. All right. Okay, so if your C is, okay, I got 70 hours to make 500 grand. Where do I go here? All right, now understand something. I haven't even discussed what we're doing yet. I'm showing you exactly where we need to go. How do we use our business to help us get to what we want to do? So if I need to make 500 grand, and I got 70 hours to do it, well, maybe can I sell 1 million things for $1? If I have the infrastructure set up, if I had the resources, and I had the personnel to do that, i.e., Dollar General franchise, maybe. Dollar General's doing just fine, but do you have that? No? Okay, that's not gonna work. What if I was to do 100,000 things for $10? How much time do I have to sell those things? I need my t-shirts. I have so many people that say, oh, I got this t-shirt line. Like you're the only guy with a brilliant idea that is the only one selling t-shirts nowadays. Everybody and their baby mamas are selling t-shirts. But can you sell enough to actually hit your goal? No. Not if you don't have the infrastructure for that. But what if you were to say, okay, what if I sold 1,000 things for $1,000? Can I do that? Absolutely. Now we're actually building something from that. Because this right here, if this is your area to get to your C, then that determines your brand. Your brand is the public expression of your beliefs, and it's done through what you sell, not what you sell. Here's what I mean by that. That's your C. That will also determine how you price your services, right? Right? Here we are, we live in Naples. Where I just moved from was in a place called McKinney, right outside of Dallas, Texas, right next door to Frisco. Big money, right? Where I was at before that was in a rinky-dink military town called Lawton, Oklahoma. Do you think that the business scene in Lawton, Oklahoma is going to be totally different than what's in Dallas, Texas and what's here in Naples? Absolutely. So now that you know your C, that's going to determine what you price your services and products at. So do you think it would make sense for you to say, if I was to ask for your brand, is that you know what it is? It doesn't matter what you do. HVAC, all right? What do you want your brand to be? Upscale, classy. Okay, great, awesome. I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter, irrelevant. Are you pricing to that? Does your price reflect the brand? If you're charging the same amount of money that your guy down the street is, and he's barely making enough to even keep his head afloat, does that match the brand? Nope. This is also the reason why I don't like actually joining like networking groups that specializes in one person per industry, because what you just did is you actually just shut away the opportunity for growth. Because you can have an HVAC company and so can he. You have two different brands where you're more so the upscale, classy type guy, and he's more of the Main Street American family type client. Two different brands, same industry. You are actually collaborators. You can actually do industry events to where rising tide lifts all ships, right? They both benefit from doing the same event and they're in the same industry, but yet they're in two separate brands, so do they think of each other as competitors? No. They see each other as partners. Because they actually understand what a brand is, nobody else does. Does this make sense? Okay. Any questions so far in regards to determining your C and how this determines your brand?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So if you find yourself in that position where you're a new business and you're just trying to survive, right? The first, year or two, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking about, hey, I gotta lower my prices because I gotta compete with the outfit down the street, right?
Yeah.
Do you let your business just falter or
Nope.
you lower your prices?
Okay, so again, this is what happens when you don't have a brand. Because what this does is that are you going to approach, if you know what you have to sell in terms of, you need 1,000 customers at worst, You need 1,000 customers? Are you going to be approaching everybody that lives and breathes? No. You're going to be approaching those that have $1,000 to pay for your product. You just went from, let's say there's 100 people in this room. You went from, prior to you showing up tonight, I got to talk to everybody that moves. Hey, come buy my product. Hey, come buy my service. To all of a sudden, you're looking back at the corner, you're like, okay, this guy over there, he drives a Maserati. He's somebody to talk to. Hey, this guy's actually a known person in the community that knows people that can actually afford my products. I'm going to set up a lunch meeting with him. You went from 100 people that you were going to talking to 4 people, and you hit your goal. Not kidding. One of my clients had a t-shirt company. So understand, my examples that I'm sharing with you is actually happening. We went through a profitability assessment with this guy, and we said, listen, how much money do you have to make no money? $8,000. How many t-shirts do you have to sell in order to hit that? 2,000. Just on t-shirts. 2,000 t-shirts every month. He wasn't going to hit it. But here's an opportunity. So here's an example. Because what did people do? The moment that I was to say, hey, I own a t-shirt company too, and I'm new in town. Now you see me as what? Competition. And it's a race to the bottom. That's a telltale sign they don't know their brand. Because what ends up happening is this. You now know what a brand is. You say, okay, listen. I'm going to partner with somebody that can actually afford what I do. And they actually appreciate the value. The quality is not what sells, by the way. Because if that was the case, McDonald's would be out of business. It's the brand that sells. So with this client that we did a t-shirt work with, we went from selling them t-shirts to there's this I keep saying this wrong, aeronautical company. It's a company that does maintenance work on planes. All right? An opportunity came up. In the pilot's cockpit are these panels. Every so often, those panels will get worn out due to use and rub and all that stuff. Well, my client also had the ability to print on these types of panels. So he went from printing t-shirts for a $3 profit to, hey sir, right now you're currently paying this company out of California $7,000 just for you to print these panels. I actually can have my client do that for you for $1,500. So, hey client, how long does it take you to actually print those panels? 2 minutes. Okay, now let's do the math. He needs $8,000 a month to stay afloat. How many panels does he have to print? 5. Everything else is gravy. So you just went from selling t-shirts to now you're printing panels, and that's just from one company. What if you were to go to 15 other companies? Now you're starting to think a little bit, huh? And all is based on your brand. Does that make sense? Okay, so everything that I'm going to be discussing from here on out, Stormy, if you don't mind, could you let me know when it's 7:30?
Yep.
Because I want to make sure I give people enough time for Q&A and questions and stuff. Okay, so your brand is the public expression of your beliefs. It is dictated by your C. Does everybody understand that? Your C determines your brand. The next thing that people don't understand, when I mean people, I'm talking about small business owners, entrepreneurs who understand this, is there is a distinct difference between advertising and marketing. The reason why they did this wrong is because they don't have a brand. And because they don't have a brand, they're resorted to doing what everybody else does, which is the same crap. I know this because I talked to at least 175 businesses, and I asked them the question, what do they do in the market? And what they had told me is what they're doing to advertise. So what do I mean by advertising? I'm talking about social media, Google, even word of mouth. Because what happens is, or let me back up. How many of you guys, by show of hands, have actually had an experience where you knew you had the best burger before you ate it? By show of hands. No one.
Best burger?
You knew you had the best burger before you ate it. Nobody. You knew you had the best burger before you ate it?
Not me personally, but somebody I know go like this, I know this is gonna be great.
Well, sure, but you actually knew without a shadow of a doubt. No, because you haven't actually tasted it. Same thing in business. So if I didn't know that you had an HVAC business, and I see you post on social media, if I don't know you, how do I know that you're actually someone I want to do business with? If you're one of 75 people within a 50-mile radius of Fort Myers. True, right, but here's the thing. Other people use it and they'll recommend it, which helps. Please understand, I'm not saying that word of mouth is not good. It is. But it should not be relied on to actually grow your business to hit your seed, because that, what control do you have? What it does enable you to actually advertise to is not your product or service, it's your brand. For example, there was I did a speaking engagement in Fort Myers, and there was a lady that had a salon business, and we're going through the same exact discussion. And she had piped up talking about, how do I actually market my brand? I'm actually struggling with this concept. And I said, well, what do you do? I'm in a salon. Great. What is it that you want to use your salon for? She was saying, well, I really want to help teenage girls in terms of their self-image. There you go. Because now, and I actually told her this, you are now going to be known as the Harriet Tubman of salon owners. You can take any girl from any background, and just like Harriet Tubman did with the Underground Railroad, can actually help develop young leaders through your salon store. And when it comes to advertising, you don't go on Facebook and post, free wig or whatever, right, for $19.95. No, you're actually emphasizing that. You're emphasizing the story of a young woman that had a rough background, and she came through the course of engaging with this woman. And now here she is actually on a course to actually make an impact in the community. Guess who gets to relate with that? People that resonate with the brand. Now when they actually see you on social media, when they actually meet you in person, they no longer see you as a salon owner. They see you as someone that's actually helping and being a part of the solution. Does that make sense? That's what advertising is designed for. It is not designed to measure an ROI, because it is impossible for you to measure that. Impossible. I was actually talking to a guy that owns an advertising agency, and he actually kind of fought back with me a little bit. He's like, yeah, you can. We have these metrics and all this stuff that you can actually measure the traffic and all that stuff. I said, okay, listen, guy. You actually have somebody that bought the product. How do you know they're actually being honest with you with the survey? Show of hands. How many of you actually gone to Wendy's? And the teller there is like, hey, could you please go ahead and put in this Google search and put in this survey and fill it in for me, please? How many of you have actually done that and was actually honest about it? That person may have been a jerk, but would you say that you're actually honest in terms of that? Anybody? Nope. And the guy was like, yeah, you're right. So how can you actually measure success through advertising? You can't. When you're driving down 41 and you see that Coca-Cola sign, I guarantee you that the owners over at Atlanta, Georgia are not sitting there saying, I wonder what the ROI is in that billboard on 41. They're not, because that is not what that billboard is designed for. The billboard for Coca-Cola is to show the brand, so that when you go to Tasmania, that 4-year-old kid knows what a Coke is. That's what it's designed for. So if it works for big businesses, it works for small businesses as well. So we have to kind of fine-tune our strategy a little bit Make the majority of your social media posts about what it is you're actually trying to do. And then every once in a while, talk about, your service or price. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying don't do it. But don't expect business to come in because of what you post on social media. Because it's not going to happen. I talked to too many businesses that have said I spent $5,000 to $30,000 a month. And I asked them, how much money have you actually gotten in return for that? Every time. Don't piss away money. Also, another reason why it doesn't work is because we hate being sold to. Don't believe me? Show of hands. How many of you have gotten a knock on your door and you were delighted to talk to a person with a clipboard? How many of you? Show of hands? Nobody? No? Okay. How many of you, by show of hands, are driving down the road and you're on your radio and listen to your favorite radio station, and all of a sudden you get those ads that take like 6 minutes long? How many of you, by show of hands, actually stay on that channel, or do you actually use this finger and you hit the right or up, seek and arrow? Matter of fact, the owner of Purple Mike Garage did a talk on this in front of Cadillac. And at this point, he was sharing this same example, and they started laughing. And he was like, what's so funny? They told him that the right and up, seek and arrow is the #1 replace button on the car. Nowadays, they got the touch screens. Notice how, turn off your car and look at where the fingerprints are, and you'll see my point. Better yet, how many of you, by show of hands, have been scrolling on Facebook, you actually saw an ad, clicked on the ad, went shopping on that website, bought something from that ad, and actually did not get a box of rocks? How many? 1, 2, 3, out of a room of 40 people. 40. But yet, what ends up happening? Every single small business owner that I've talked to does that. And they spend $5 to $50, I'm not kidding, $50,000 expecting business to come in through their door through you posting on social media. That is not what brings in business. What brings in business is marketing. Let me back up real quick and talk about what advertising is. All advertising is you are making your brand aware, or awareness, brand awareness to your market. Let me discuss what the market is real quick. Depending on your brand, your market is whoever would get you to your seat. So you remember that 1,000 people that would spend $1,000? That's your market. Okay? So your job in terms of brand awareness is to make your brand and position it to where people are aware of it. How you do it? Social media, Google, all that stuff, all that's advertising. Is there anything wrong with it? No. But where that becomes a problem is when you expect advertising to be the thing that brings you money. That's where the problem lies. Marketing is where you actually position your brand so that your market tangibly experiences it. Now, here's what I mean by tangibly. Feeling, sensing, tasting, going through the actual experience. That is marketing. For example, for Purple Mike Garage, this is considered marketing. For those of you that know what Purple Mike Garage brand is, what box? Like what box can you actually put us in? You can't fit the consulting box because consultants actually fancy up a whole bunch of data, give it to you, they charge you about 5-6 figures a month for you to actually tell you a whole bunch of data points. That's it. At this point, you clearly see we do a whole lot more than that. So we don't fit in that box. Well, they also got business coaching. Do we fit that box? No, because business coaches don't know what the hell they're talking about. The Grant Cardones, the Ty Lopez of the world, they've never fixed a business, they never started a business. If you had a problem and you actually went to them, they wouldn't tell you how to fix it. They'll just tell you to 10x it. Or right now they're telling you to 10x it. In about 8 months, it'll be something totally different. Before that, it was A squared. So when it comes down to it, we don't fit that box either. Our brand is being shown through what we do, and you are all experiencing it right now. So this is an example of marketing. Giving the people, the market that you're trying to attach and want to fill the brand, a chance to tangibly experience it. I'll give you another example. We had a client that was a roofer. And this particular client was struggling because he was like, dude, right now our industry, we're at a place now where people just don't trust us. And we're like, yeah, you're right. Because what is the top 2 most untrusted professions right now? Car salesmen and roofers. So if you're trying to establish a foothold, what are you coming up against? People that don't trust you. Because there's more problems that ends up coming up after the experience. So people just naturally inclined to not trust you. So he's like, well, how do I fix that? Well, let's market that. So what we did is we actually had him change his entire fleet of trucks from his original colors to a bright neon yellow. We created a mascot of a dog that had one ear up and the other ear was kind of down to kind of give this friendly look. But we really want to emphasize the color because that bright neon color gravitates attention. So what we told him was this: every time that your guys are going up and down in between jobs, every time you saw a stranded car, your drivers is to stop what they're doing, pull up behind that car, and wait until help arrives. Because what happens now is that when people start driving up and down the road, and they start seeing these bright neon yellow cars with dogs on the side of them, and behind every car with the wife, with the kids, what does that foster in the back of their mind? That trust. So every time that they have an actual house leak, are they going to Google roofers in Fort Myers? No, they know who to call. That's marketing. How much did it cost them to do that? $1,000 that it took to paint the cars. Another example, there was a plumber, and going through the same thing. He was like, how do I actually beat my competition because everybody's doing this race at the bottom? All right, Bob, how long does it take to fix a leak to where if you don't fix it, it goes from honey grab the towels to honey build an ark? 8 minutes. Great. Less than 10 miles away from where this guy's location was a water park. We talked to the water park owner and he thought this was a great idea. What we agreed to is that they were going to simulate a water leak. So we actually got one of the slides. We actually reserved one of the slides that had water going through. We built a pipe that was broken. It wasn't real, it was simulated. And we had one of those big clocks in the bag. We set it to 8 minutes and we gave the crowd of people that was sitting there like, what's going on here? 8 minutes to try to fix the leak. How many of them actually fixed it? So everybody that was there to try to fix the leak that couldn't do it, what does that foster in their mind now that they know, hey, if I have a problem, who do I need to call? That guy. How much did it cost them to do that? Less than $30. Marketing does not need to be expensive. It takes strategy to get you to where you need to go. Straight up. Last example of marketing before I move on. Another case is my personal favorite story. It's a jeweler story. A lot of ladies here would actually enjoy this one. So, jewelry sales are cyclical. One moment of the year they're doing great, during the summer they suck. So she's like, what can I actually do to actually, increase my revenue? Because I've been struggling lately. So we asked her, say, how many cases do you have? She had 11. Okay. Call up your 11 best clients. Let me stop right there. The key to marketing, it doesn't matter what you do, are these three things. Everybody, it doesn't matter, social status, financial status, economic status, doesn't matter. They want three things. They want to feel special, they want to be in on a secret, and they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Everybody. The reason why people join cults, those three. The reason why people join the military, specifically the Rangers, the Navy SEALs, special ops, those three things. The reason why people want to play for the Patriots, even though they don't pay their players for squat, those three things. If you hit one of those three things in your business, you have a client. If you hit two of those three things, you have a fan. If you hit all three of those things, you have a business. Okay, so I'm actually going to showcase that in this example. Thank you for asking. So going back to the jewelry store owner, 11 best clients. What does that signify already? Which one of these three? Special. Hey Janet, you have been one of our most esteemed clients. You know, we really appreciate your business. We want to recognize you by enabling you to design your own case. Your case is going to have your name emblazoned in gold panel. And you're going to be entered into a contest to see who can sell the most jewelry from their own case. Okay, first off, we already talked about special. She's one of the 11. All right, I just said special. Second of all, from a business owner perspective, you get all 11 women, which by the way, going back to the million ways to make $1 million, if these are the best 11 best clients, that means they have money. Their contest is to see who can sell the most jewelry from their case, which means that they're going to call people that also have money. Does the owner have to do it? No. Her 11 best clients are going to be her biggest advertisers. So, all 11 women are on the phone. They're like, Alyssa, you better come to this store. You got 3 hours and 45 minutes to get your ass to my store right now and buy from my case. Which led to a whole horde of women coming into the door. Before they arrived, we told them to shut the door and lock it. What did that just do within the top three? Secret. Because now everybody else is sitting there wondering, what are these 11 women got? Is that going to drive more desire from their perspective to take it? Yeah, exactly. And what we did was we gave those 11 women 45 minutes to do whatever they wanted to do in terms of getting whatever jewelry they wanted before everybody else got it. That event took 4 hours. The winner of the contest got a $500 gift card. And that owner made more money within those 4 hours than she did the previous year in sales. 4 hours. How much did it cost her? $500 gift card. Does it take money to grow businesses? No, it takes strategy. It takes a brand. And what builds the brand? You understanding what your seed is, because that determines how you price it, who you market to. Does this make sense? Perfect. I honestly, to be honest with you, like I do these talks every so often. I don't have a script. I just kind of go off the hip. But I believe that we're at a place now where you guys are starting to see and recognize that whatever idea that you have coming into this course tonight, it doesn't matter what it is, guys. First, do the research as to why you're doing this. I'm not talking about do your research on your expertise. I'm talking about why you're building this business, period. Because if you're just here just to go through the course and get to see Stormy and Dr. Rob and the mentors and whatnot, just to get a grade, you're just wasting your time. But if you're here to actually develop something that is actually something that you want to grow and develop to be something more than what's on your P&L sheet, then I'm telling you tonight, you're gonna walk out of here, I can already see it with some of your eyes, it's starting to happen already. You're coming out with a different idea than what you came in with, am I right? With that being said, I want to kind of open this up for questions. I don't care if it's, sharing ideas that you kind of had in your head of how you can kind of utilize what we discussed tonight to help your business. I actually love the fact of, this being a group session because the ideas and questions that you have could be something that could benefit somebody else. Yes?
Besides the obvious, why did you call it Purple Monkey Garage?
So, Purple Monkey Garage has been around for 25 years. It wasn't called Purple Monkey Garage until, I want to say, definitely before 10 years ago. It was called something else. How it changed was the founder of the company, his name is Josh Toller. Basically, just a little short story on himself. He was actually illiterate, couldn't read past the 3rd grade level, was so shy he couldn't order from a McDonald's menu until he was 20 years old. He had to have his brother do it for him. That's how shy he was. But he had a background in high-level security. He would be that guy that would be hired to break into military bases without getting caught and actually tell the leadership as to what their breaks in the security systems are. Well, anyway, one night he was walking out of a restaurant and there was a guy sitting there with a knife ready to kill him. And he came at him, yelling and screaming and cussing, you, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And knowing how the mind works, Josh knew that he had to control time and distance. Well, at the moment, he didn't have it. So what he did was he actually screamed out at him as the guy was charging him 3 times, saying, "Purple monkeys eat blue bananas." So some of you guys are like, what? Which gave Josh the time to close the distance and take him out. I didn't talk about this tonight, and maybe I might. Because actually, yeah, I am, because I got about 15 minutes. Because this actually impacts how you sell. People hate salespeople for some reason. Well, the reason why is because we're taught wrong. I'm actually going to do it. To finish the story, during our sales conferences, we shared that story of the attempted murder, and people started sending Josh Purple Monkey bracelets, statues, pictures, and it just stuck. The garage aspect comes into play when you have a car that's a problem, you took it to a mechanic who actually assessed the problem and fixed it. You don't take it to an automotive coach. We do the same thing for businesses. It's the reason why you really cannot. It's the reason why the brand is what box. Or another way you can think about it is limitless. So many ways and ideas that you can come up with to utilize your business as a tool as opposed to your business defining it. So, when it comes to sales, this is the circle that I just drew is a picture of your mind. Your mind is made up of 2 parts. You're conscious, like I consciously picked up this pen and I'm consciously talking to you. But I subconsciously breathe. I don't think to breathe, I just do. How often have you left your office, got in your car, Next thing you know, you're in your driveway, and you're like, how did I get here? The reason why is because here's your subconscious, which makes up 12% of his brain power. This is the only nerd part of this conversation. Then you have your subconscious, which is made up of 88% of your brain power. Which is bigger? Your subconscious. So therefore, what takes precedence and what takes over? Your subconscious. You subconsciously drove home. Hence the reason why you can actually go out there and literally be like mindless and you're doing things. Because you've done it enough times where your subconscious takes over. Which, by the way, for those of you that are athletes, you really emphasize practice. Because in practice, you're actually looking for your weaknesses to improve them, so that way you subconsciously perform them in the game, am I correct? But what happens in business is this. What these symbols symbolizes is we live for the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain in both areas. I subconsciously do not want to put my hand on a hot stove. Why? Because I know it burns. I subconsciously know that I need to eat green vegetables to stay healthy. Do I want to? No. But I know that it's the case. But what wins? I'll probably still go get a hamburger. I mean, I'm not, but I'm just saying that's what happens. Because I subconsciously can try to will myself to do something, but subconsciously I do the exact opposite. Hence the reason why you will not find anybody that would go through a 12-step program in terms of rehab and actually come out of it and stick with it. They can will themselves into not doing whatever it is for about a few short months, and then they relapse. What ends up happening is, this occurs where if you're having a problem with an addiction, this occurs when you hit rock bottom. You wake up in the morning with your face in the toilet bowl and you realize, I cannot do this anymore, and that's when that switch. And cold turkey. All right. Now, in terms of business as to why this matters, because when it comes to how you sell your products, too many times businesses will say, listen, I have the best price. I have the most quality service. You know, I'm this, I'm that. What actually happens? I don't trust this guy. I don't really believe in this. I think that this guy's a sleazeball. What wins? Subconscious. What actually happens in those scenarios? Buyer's remorse. But what ends up happening is that deep within our subconscious is a set of beliefs that's wrapped in a wall of emotion. Guys, what I just say over here, what your brand is, the public expression of your beliefs. There it is right there. Deep in our subconscious is a set of beliefs that if I was to touch your beliefs, I get an emotional response. Case in point, if I was to walk out that door, and I really don't care about what your political beliefs are, but if I was to walk out that door and I have a red hat on, I don't care what side of the fence you're on, I'm going to get an emotional response. If I was to go on social media and make a post, you know you hit a response when you get those angry responses and comments. Because you touch a belief. When you touch beliefs, you get the responses, that is what you're actually anchored to. So let's just say HVAC, right? You're not an HVAC guy. You're not. You're somebody that emphasizes, I'm just throwing something random out there. Developing more of a, how do I put it? You're a rehab center for guys that have lost their voice. That is your brand, because that's what you believe in. Because you determine through your seed, those are the things that you define as what's important to you. So when it comes down to it, you identify based on your brand who you targeted, and I'm not targeted, that's the kind of that way to say, but you identify that one key person that if you do business with him, he gets you to your goal. Instead of you going to him and be like, hey sir, I'm an HVAC guy at Cape Coral. You know, come do business with me. Say, listen, Bob, you know what's crazy, man? I'm seeing way too many young kids struggling with identity. We're having issues right now with an identity crisis in young men in this area because of X, Y, and Z. Have you said anything about HVAC? No, but you're in the door. Because now he's like, you know, man, you're right. What can we do about it? Well, listen, that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. I really want to partner with you because I really want to do this initiative where we do a VIP party, where we get to bring on the people that have that same value and vision, and we actually create a solution for this issue. What are you doing right now? Whereas if you were to try to advertise that on social media, you're basically like fishing. You're throwing a bait on a hook and you're going out there trying to catch one. Marketing, you're putting the fish you want in the barrel and you're shooting the one that you want to get. Even if you miss him, you're going to get one. Because what's going to happen in that meeting? You got 30 people in the meeting. People that share the same vision, the same belief as you. And now, every time that they have an HVAC problem, are they going to Google HVAC people in Cape Coral? No, they're not. They got one person that they're going to use exclusively. Did it cost you anything? No. It just took strategy. It took position. That's sales. So it doesn't matter what you do. Salon, don't care. Whatever your brand is, your beliefs is anchor it to a belief, and that is how you go about doing it. Because guess what? Are you going to get an objection? No. But what do typical conventional sales conferences go like? You guys gotta come to one of our conferences. I'll tell you, you're gonna have a blast. They're gonna tell you, you need to go ahead and you need to answer every objection before they even say it. Jack, there's a whole lot of stupidity on a stick. Because how do I even know that those are the objections that you even have before I even actually heard you? But if I just went through a belief, because I actually did some research, I actually found out what makes you tick, there's no reason for me to talk about objections. Because I don't care about that. Even if I don't do business with him, he knows somebody that does need what I do. Now he went from, hey, I'm literally trying to get one response out of every 1,000 people that I talk to now I get like 1 out of every 2. Makes a huge difference, guys. You don't have to slave at this thing. The tools that Stormy, Dr. Rob, and your mentors that you're going to be assigned to are going to give you is great, especially once you get your brand set up. Once your brand is set up, guys, you are cooking with grease. And I'm not kidding. All right, I have done enough talking. What questions you got?